In terms of your career, is there a pivotal moment that you still carry today, whether that there's a failed launch, an outage, or even a risk that you've made?
That is a good question. So one of the more pivotal moments in my career came from a situation where we pushed forward on a change that made sense pretty technically, but we didn't have full alignment across the teams that needed to operate it. The result wasn't really a big catastrophic failure or anything, but it created a lot of friction and confusion and slowed us down more than it should have. We stuck with it from everything, and it wasn't that that it was a big technical miss, but it was in realizing that that success at scale there was less about making the right technical decision and more about making sure the organization is aligned around it. Since then, I've been much more deliberate around ensuring that things were clear before executing. If people don't understand what we're doing or why it matters and how it affects them, even the right thing, the right decision can fail, and that's something I carry with me to this day.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's obviously a scar, right? It's sets you up for any other future issues. I think it's, these kind of journeys are all about experience. This is the exact reason why we have these podcasts, and that there's to give to young aspiring engineers, entrepreneurs, that not every single thing will be plain sailing. There will be challenges, there will be obstacles. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm sure we can go into that topic in a lot more depth. When every organization you've been involved in, we've always looked at how organizations scale. When you think back to scaling your engineering organization from a handful of engineers to dozens or even hundreds, what were the biggest surprises or mistakes that you learned from along the way?
So one of the biggest surprises for me was in how quickly communication breaks down. When you go from a handful of engineers to dozens, you can't really rely on them or proximity or informal conversations to really take you where you want to go. So early on, I made some mistakes of assuming that alignment would just happen naturally. And it doesn't, right? It's just kind of the reality of things. So you have to be intentional about structure, how decisions are made, how information flows, and then how teams stay connected. I learned that scaling isn't just about adding people. It's about building systems around those people, creating clear lines of ownership, consistent process, and generally shared understanding about how important and each individual contributor is to the greater whole. And when all of those things are in place, teams tend to move forward quickly, away from the chaos and start leaving the chaos behind.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, obviously, your roles changed over the course of your career when you were a young engineer. How has that looked like, and what has been the challenges that you've faced when evolving as a leader and adapting from being one of the guys essentially to looking to be that person that's leading from the front?
So probably the biggest shift for me is probably the same one that I think most people have. It was, in moving from solving problems directly and creating an environment where others can solve them directly instead of me. So early in my career, I measured success by how quickly I could resolve each situation and each issue. And then I realized that me doing that doesn't really scale. So then it became an opportunity for me to create clarity and make sure the team understands what matters, to approach it the right way, and generally where to focus. The hardest lesson was ultimately learning to step back, not disengaging anymore, and resisting the urge to jump in and solve things myself. Once I made that shift, the team really became stronger. The decisions improved, the organization, everything became better and more resilient and scalable.
I think it's. I mean, look, we always look at proven models. That there is obviously so simplistic that things have to be within kind of a well-drilled process in order to be able to be scalable. But you'd be very surprised how many professionals we speak with who have broken processes, who aren't all aligned, who aren't essentially, given that platform to be able to scale. And it's just kind of fine-tuning, I would say, making sure that there is fluidity throughout the whole process.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've touched base on alignment quite early on this conversation, based on the pivotal moment. What makes the partnership between a VP of engineering, CTOs, founders actually work, and how do you translate technical reality into business impact?
I think it's about partnership. It's about partnership when there is a shared understanding of outcomes, not just in their roles, right? And like in the best environments, a VP or CTO or any kind of business leadership shouldn't be, and hopefully are not, operating in silos. There needs to be a continuous conversation around priorities, trade-offs, and generally what success actually looks like. My role has often been in translating technical reality into something more meaningful for the business, not just in terms of features or systems, but really in terms of the impact, like the impact I was talking about earlier. Like that, what does this enable? What's the risk that we're reducing here? What is this going to cost us if we don't do it? When that's clear, alignment becomes 10 times easier, and decisions just move faster.
Yeah, I mean, is there a particular kind of method which helps you guys with the risk assessment?
I think for me, it just has been in conversation. It's been in approaching people, having high level business discussions that are able to help us leverage the direction we want to go with our overall decisions. So the way we have moved through this has been in taking the time to evaluate whether or not that decision making is going to have some kind of impact, and then kind of circling on that and conducting some kind of internal review in order to move it towards, or at least some kind of standardized approach, while also acknowledging that you're going to still have things that don't fit into that box. Yeah,
that's kind of weighing it up, right?
Right.
I suppose every single situation is more of a case-by-case scenario, so it's probably quite difficult to give the set definitives, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Absolutely.
In terms of your career, Jeremy, obviously it's extremely impressive. You've been influential in multiple different organizations. Is there a major technical decision that you've had to kind of go through or make yourself that's shaped your company's trajectory?
Yeah. So one of the bigger impactful decisions that I had to be a part of kind of landed in this same bucket, right? We had to come back around. We had to do some heavy customization of some software we were delivering, and we used that same approach I just mentioned, where we wanted to align on our standard approach. We could have technically just continued building, but we took the time to step back, the real issue ultimately wasn't capability. It was more of the operational overhead and generally the lack of consistency between the teams that were doing the delivery. We ended up shifting to that more standardized approach. It ultimately really reduced our flexibility in a lot of the areas, but ultimately it was a significant improvement in reliability, maintainability, supportability, and like just overall efficiency. What ended up shaping the decision wasn't just the technology. It was really in understanding the processes and how it was affecting the organization's ability to be able to operate over time and arrive at the outcomes where they wanted to be.
Is it easy when you have those constructive conversations to be able to come up with kind of strategies that make sense, even though it could deviate away from that initial plan? Because I'd imagine that these complex projects can certainly take a huge maneuver down a completely different idea, and that's just based on the fact that get from A to B in terms of the start to the end goal, the journey can just completely change at any given time, given what the company is experiencing.
I don't think that the conversation's ever really easy.
We need more money.
yeah. I mean, there's always competing priorities, competing stakeholders, competing interests, and it is in coming to compromise across multiple needs, but still arriving at the unified outcome that everybody wants to arrive at. Often, people spin on the how we're getting there, when really what they care about is what we're doing at the end, and they're focused on the journey versus the goal, and that it ends up being in the moving them away from the tactical thinking over to the strategic thinking of how they're going to arrive at that same destination.
Yeah, I think it's if you simplify the journey and try not to get too involved in the set criteria, the more the technical aspects, and just look at it from the strategy side and actually see the progression, then I'm sure that stakeholders, CEOs, founders, whoever it may be involved, is going to be a lot more respectful of the plan changing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And another key topic, Jeremy, is the two letters of AI, which seems to be the most dominating factor of the IT space. Obviously, you work for a security organization. I'd love to try and kind of pick your brains of how AI is changing the way your teams design, build, deliver software, and what do you think the engineering organization of the future actually looks like?
But I guess AI for me, it's changing how the work gets done, but it's not really changing what matters. It's not doing anything more than accelerating things. It's improving access to information. It's helping teams move faster. Its fundamentals don't really change where all these organizations are going. So the clarity, the alignment, the good decision making still start to matter, and maybe even matter more. What I'm seeing is that teams who benefit the most from AI tend to be the ones who are already strong with structure and discipline. They're already doing things the right way, and they know how to do things the right way. And AI really is just a giant bullhorn. It amplifies whatever you're doing. So when you're doing things right, it amplifies that you're doing things right. And without it, it can actually increase noise and inconsistency. If you have teams that are doing things wrong, it's just going to amplify that instead. So in the engineering of organization of the future for me is really going to be more focused on orchestration, guiding systems and people and tools in a way that really starts to produce consistent outcomes. The technical skills, they're always going to keep evolving, but the need for strong technology and strong leadership with that technology and the alignment of it all isn't going to go away.